What does that say?
Broke X-rays, Zarek Lee evaluate broke muffins.
That does not make any sense.
With Pear Deck, it doesn't seem to have to. All right, we've got 13 of you in. That code will stay in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh gosh.
But now I've made Pear Deck angry. Yeah.
You know, you could have split this into 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's easier for this old man to keep things organized if I don't. Not saying there's not a better way, but again, it's my favorite line, just about my favorite line from any movie. It's from Casino. There are 3 ways of doing things around here: the right way, the wrong way, and the way that I do them. And so you guys are stuck with the way that I do them. Yep. All right, so we get into part 2. And our objectives might sound a little steep because they come along with some big and weird sounding words: ethnocentrism, xenocentrism. We're going to know what those are, and we're going to know how to compare and contrast them. And I'll tell you, it's not really that big a deal.
These are big words.
We're also going to learn about cultural imperialism and cultural relativism. I want you to be able to compare and contrast those. And these, I will tell you, are going to be heavy on the contrast, pretty light on the comparison. All right, and finally, I want you to be able to intelligently discuss culture shock. What causes it, what it looks like, and as we'll see, what it looks an awful lot like is an Australian in an Italian restaurant in New York City in the 1980s. All right. And we're also going to see very quickly that while Dr. Brown does do big words, Dr. Brown does not do counting. So it says 4 reactions to cultural difference. It turns out there are 5. And there should have been always counted as 5. All right. So that's what all of these big words, terms have in common. They're all reactions to cultural differences and encounters between different societies with different cultures. We can react to other cultures when we encounter them with ethnocentrism, perhaps even cultural imperialism, which is related to ethnocentrism but more extreme. Or we can take a different reaction and practice cultural relativism. It's not that these words necessarily make a lot of sense yet, but they will. We will also find that you take cultural relativism a step farther, you end up with xenocentrism. So you can kind of think of those first 4 terms with each pair, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, as related reactions. Okay. And then kind of finally on its own is culture shock. And as we'll see, and I just kind of want to prepare you for this, culture shock sometimes gets a bad rap. And when somebody describes an instance of culture shock, sometimes people might think that they're prejudiced or something's wrong with them. We'll kind of help you understand why culture shock really is kind of just not exactly an unconscious reaction, but one that can be hard to control. And so don't judge people for culture shock. We will take those terms in order. We're going to start with ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism means that we are judging somebody else's culture by the standards of our own culture. And often we're doing this in a derogatory or negative way. In other words, we're judging our culture to be better than ours. All right. Now, to kind of make this a little less abstract, give it a little more life, I want you to answer this question by selecting an option. Which of those two street food options would you prefer? The one shown in the top photo or the one shown in the bottom photo?
What even is that?
That is a fertilized duck egg. And you can kind of see the feathers.
Oh, there's a baby bird in there?
Yep. Oh, that was not what I meant to do. By now, I'm sure just through my errors, I've given you probably enough time. But let's take another 5 or so seconds from here. Okay. And in fourth hour, there were 2 takers for the food in the top image. And here, there are none. Right. Which really, actually, none is the more typical outcome for that question.
What is the bottom one?
That's just French fries, chicken tenders, corn dogs from the looks of it, and some more French fries.
That looks a lot better than something.
What's the fertilized duck egg? Now, despite our general unwillingness to consider eating that top food if we've got the other choice, why might someone from Southeast Asia, where that fertilized duck egg is pretty common, think that the American street food shown in the bottom image is weird and or gross? Let's put yourself in their shoes, use your sociological imagination, see the strange and the familiar, whatever tool you want to use. But tell me, why might a Southeast Asian think that American street food is weird or gross? Take at least a minute from here on that. See if we need to add time on the back end.
It was reaction to the duck egg. It's like, what is that? A fertilized duck egg? She's like, nope.
All right. So I've just kind of sampled here some pretty common reactions. So at the base level, I mean, it's different. Right? And sometimes something that we're not used to eating, even if it's otherwise fine, we just have a hard time liking it. For example, I decided when we got that, what is the Hornbill Asian grocer at Belton, Messina, went in there and I saw the silkworm pupa. It depends on whether you're using the British spelling or the English. Let's just go with pupa because pupae kind of sounds weird to me. Right? And I decided I would try them. And so I took them home and I kind of looked up online how you're supposed to cook them. And I cooked them in like a hot skillet with some hot sauce. And I ate some of them. And you know what? They were good. but I was not going to finish that can because part of me still couldn't get over the realization that I was munching through an exoskeleton on a bug. No, they're dead.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're dead. But sometimes just that difference is hard to get past, right? Even if we want to. The other thing is that duck egg, that's basically what we would consider a whole food. The only processing that's been done to that is somebody peeled it and put it on a plate in that case with a garnish. That's it. All right, whereas that American food, man, that has been through some processes that are better left unseen. Those corn dogs, we've taken parts that were once the questionable bits of an animal, and we've turned them into something that looks like a sausage, even though it's really not. And then we've put it in cornmeal, and we fried it probably in a vegetable oil that also goes through some weird chemical and mechanical processes to turn it into something that you can use to fry things with. Right? Right, and even the French fries, you're like, oh, that's just a cut up potato, man. Take it easy on the French fries. Nope. In order for those to be able to survive the process of being frozen and trucked all over, they have to add chemicals to them so that they still look like and taste like a potato that was cut up fresh and fried by the time you eat it. So, yeah, a lot of processing. And also the health aspect. Right? Fertilized duck egg, even if it's weird to us, is, we have to admit, the healthier choice. And then also, and this is one I had not considered before, and actually this is the first class, and more than one of you pointed it out, that's an open thing, and it doesn't look like there's someone serving you, so that's a buffet. Right? Americans love a buffet, but let's admit it, buffets are kind of gross. Like, how many of you really trust that sneeze guard? No, you don't. Like, we all suspend disbelief when we go to a buffet. We're also imagining that everyone washes their hands after they go to the bathroom. And they don't. Or touch their nose. Or pick their nose. All right, and lots of you are not going to be going back to Golden Corral for a while. Sorry for that. Some of you never went there in the first place. All right. Okay. Now, as another example, ethnocentrism, again, it doesn't have to necessarily be a negative thing, but it is about looking at something else and assessing it through our own cultural lens. So in the Pear Deck, I want you to choose the option of those two photos, left or right, which one, as Midwestern Americans, would we most likely misinterpret, or, in other words, not correctly understand what's going on. Choose your option, left or right.
Right, this way, left that way.
Yeah, it is your left and right. Yeah, it's not like some stage left, stage right thing where we don't know who's left or who's right. No, it's as they show up on the screen.
Yeah, because stage directions.
Yeah.
Let's clear thing out there.
Yeah, camouflage on the left, suits on the right. And most of you believe we would most likely misinterpret the image on the left. So let's see if we're right by interpreting the image on the right. What's going on in that image?
It's a wedding.
It's a wedding. All right, those two men have gotten married. And so their holding hands indicates that they are in a committed romantic relationship, right? Is that what holding hands means in the image on the left? What does it mean?
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie? What do you guys think? Is Will right about that? You prefer to believe? Okay, Casey. I know, but I want to believe that it's something else. That's fair, Casey. That's fair. Okay. No, odds are, and granted, I pulled this image from a Google image search, so there's no guarantees.
What would you do if another person came down?
Actually, I don't have this student. First semester, I had that student. I don't have him now. They'll figure that out later. All right. Okay. Chances are those two men are just friends.
Why don't you just look
Um,
at
This image is from, I believe those are Jordanian soldiers. In the Middle East and places like North Africa especially, it is culturally not just acceptable, but very common and expected that two men who are friends will hold hands. Right? And Will's right. It's a sign of camaraderie and friendship. And that's it. Right? But you drop a Midwesterner into that situation, they might misunderstand what's happening. As I said, we take ethnocentrism, especially if we're thinking about it in kind of that first way, where we're evaluating somebody else's culture in an unfavorable or maybe even negative way. If we take it a step farther, we get cultural imperialism, which is not only have you judged your culture as better, but you believe that you should impose it on somebody else. Now, this photo, it's kind of two photos side by side. I should have been clear about that. But how does the photo here at the bottom illustrate cultural imperialism? I'll take at least a minute and I will zoom in so you can more clearly see. What's that? You probably have. Well, it was on some other slides too, but yes, you probably have seen that maybe in a U.S. history class.
Mr. George showing us this before?
Probably. It seems like something Mr. George would show. All right, let's add some time to that.
I don't think we keep. Oh, man. Sorry.
All right, some of you are still typing away. I will get on board with that. I'll add some more time. Okay, and again, I've kind of just highlighted some. If I didn't highlight yours, it doesn't mean there was something wrong with it. We just had some common themes. Okay, so what we have is a before and after. The photo on the left showing the before, and the photo on the right being the after. Right? Those are the same boys in two different photos taken at different times. And so we see the Native Americans before they have really incurred most of the process of cultural imperialism with long hair, right? Indigenous dress, including like the hair dresses, the hair adornments. And then right, in the second video, they've had haircuts that were much more common to Western males or American males at the time. They're wearing Western clothes. And right, to behave normal. Whose definition of normal? Our definition of normal. Yeah. So that is cultural imperialism. And a lot of it was done through schooling. Our United States government not only took these Native Americans from what had been their homes, they didn't always consider the land as property, not even in a communal sense, but from their territory, and put them on reservations. When they put these children in schools, though, right, they intentionally did not put them together with students from the same tribal backgrounds with the same language. Instead, they mixed up the children so that there were lots of different languages, and if they wanted to communicate, they would have to learn English in order to talk to one another, because they wouldn't understand each other's languages. Yeah. And the Canadian government did it too. I mean, we know about that because it's been in the news in the last couple of years, because there were lots of children who died and their deaths were covered up. This was in some cases, not that long ago, though. So yeah, that's cultural imperialism. Yes, when the United States government wasn't doing genocide, it was doing cultural imperialism.
Lovely.
Okay, and in this, we're going to do something a little different with Pear Deck. Instead of asking questions, written interpretation of this can be sometimes tricky, but I want you to identify things in the image by dragging the different shapes to the different part of the image. So, starting with the red circle, I want you to place that on the part of the image you think most clearly shows... Oops, man, that skipped a slide. That's happened to me twice today. All right. Place the red circle, that part stays the same, on the part of the image you think most clearly shows the society that is practicing cultural imperialism, right? So which society is doing what? Which one is imperialist?
It's not big enough. Just put it in the middle. No, I'm talking about the red circle.
Oh, the red circle's not big enough? Oh, no, it needs to be somewhere on there. This is kind of this is a case of horseshoes and hand grenades. All right, close is close enough.
Did you lock the screen?
I did not.
Is the camera moving?
Now it is. All right, well, it's doing okay. All right,
Yeah,
so right, most identifying this, and yes, this is the imperialist society. And no, this is not my interpretation. This is a political cartoon from a British publication. It's not really that satirical. It is what you would think of as like a jingoist publication, right? A very nationalist publication endorsing empire. Next, I want you to put the orange square on the part of the image you think most clearly indicates why that society, right, which you guys have identified as this society, sees its culture as superior to that culture. I don't want to. No, I'll have to. Okay, I guess I'll have to.
What do you put there?
The orange square.
The orange triangle. I mean square. I'm thinking.
Okay, and so one of those things, I'm guessing these are placed on the flag that says civilization. Yeah, that does it. Some of you also have picked probably the firearm there, or in this case, indicating the comparison between the civilization and the people escaping from the other side.
All work.
Okay. And then I want you to pick another reason, not the same as the first, one that is maybe a little less obvious, but that also shows why the imperialist society sees its culture as better than the culture of the other group. Because yes, that civilization banner is kind of the very in-your-face evidence that they believe their culture is better. And it doesn't want to show screens. Let's see if we go back.
What did you say?
Okay. All right. So for this, I'm going to focus on this side, right? So we've got the man with the axe, right? Who looks like he's productive. He's white, right? He's fully clothed. Got the same thing, soldiers and guns, again, as other evidence. So yeah, I mean, those are other signs that this is the more advanced civilization. All right, for now, we'll stop there. We'll pick up, focused more on this side of the image when we begin next time. You don't need to turn in the notes. Just make sure that they are saved in Kami, and then head back to modules. Yep, you guys are just about in the same place. And then please find in our culture module today's exit slip. Which is going to look an awful lot like the do now. You'll have 6 minutes to take it, and it will lock at 11:54. So you guys have that minute to get ready for lunch. Please take your time, use your notes, think about our review after the do now, okay, and keep holding the line on those rules. You guys will be headed to day 3 in a row of professionalism points. All right, good luck.
4th hour, still going.